Now on the APEC VIP hotline, cutting-edge training for the serious athlete, apecgo.com. Joining us right now, he is the most influential, most powerful man in Southern football, Paul Finebaum. How you doing, Paul?
Well, Bryan, I'm doing better after that introduction. Wow. Need to take you on the road with me.
Hey, listen, anytime you need somebody to come out there and shill for you, I'd be happy to do that. Hey, I got to ask you, before we get into the A&M Alabama game, it's Election Day. If you had a choice of electing either Nick Saban or Les Miles as the next president of the United States, which direction would you go?
I'd vote for Les. I love entertainment. I love comedy, and I think I would move to Washington, cover the White House, and have the greatest 4 years. Well, I'm not sure he'd last 4 years, Bryan, but it would be fun.
You know, I like my leaders just a little crazy.
Yeah, well, I don't think we've ever had anyone quite like Les, but I mean, you know, I would just hope that he wouldn't try some trickery with the nuclear button.
Oh, man. But, you know, just the idea of having somebody, like I said, just a little bit insane keeps the opposition just a little bit off balance. And, you know, and that's kind of the Reagan way of doing things, don't you think?
Yeah, well, and you know, Saban would be a little scary, though, wouldn't he?
He would. He might set off a diplomatic disaster, though, you know?
Yeah, I mean, you know, the Secretary of State would come in there after an unfortunate incident. He'd probably slap her.
and, you know, I'm all for that, by the way. I just want you to know.
Well, let me tell you something. I was in College Station about 3 weeks ago, emceeing a banquet for Coach Stallings at A&M, and I had the honor, I think it was an honor, of sitting next to Rick Perry. And I don't think I need to tell you about politicians that aren't afraid to push their weight around. I think Governor Perry could do that quite effectively as well.
He's had a little practice at it. He's been in the office for quite a while now.
Yeah.
So.
No, I definitely want to stay on his good side during dinner.
All right, and by the way, when you mentioned that, who is Coach Stallings going to pull for this weekend with Alabama and A&M playing each other?
There is no doubt. He's made this. He made it known to me that night in College Station. He is an Aggie through and through, and will be rooting for the Texas A&M Aggies Saturday in Tuscaloosa.
Oh boy, that must be really rankling some of the Tide fans then.
Well, I mean, I think they understand it, and you know this, Bryan. I mean, there is such an interesting relationship between these two schools, going back to Coach Bryant and Coach Stallings, and even Franchione left here to go to A&M, although no one really wants to claim that. And Jackie Sherrill played at Alabama and coached at A&M. So, I mean, I'm not sure I've ever seen anything quite like, when you consider schools this far apart, a close-knit bond between two schools that are, 800 or 900 miles away from each other.
Yeah, and having only played, 4 times?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
No, it is. It is.
All right, before we get to that, I want your impressions on what you saw Saturday night with LSU and Alabama. Where does that game rank in the LSU-Alabama games that you've seen?
Well, I can give you a couple of different answers. In some respects, it's like every other one, because, I mean, these games have been phenomenal in the last 5 years. Every one of them has really gone down to the wire. Although I thought this was even though there have been games that have ended in overtime, this perhaps was the most dramatic. I mean, I just can't imagine a swing that went in the way this was. I mean, the game was lost. I mean, I don't know what it appeared to be like on television. But as LSU was going, I was down on the goal line where Yeldon scored the winning touchdown, and as LSU was going the other way, I was thinking, there's no way Alabama's winning this game. And then, like Peyton Manning had suddenly emerged in the body of A.J. McCarron. Here they come in the other direction.
It was a great football game. Did I actually see that you actually tweeted almost a compliment to Les Miles?
Yes. And again, I have to admit to you, Bryan, as a friend, I don't know how to say this. I think I had way too much jambalaya and corn liquor from southern Louisiana.
Hey, that's a good way to go. But so you liked what he did the other night?
Well, here's what I liked. I liked the fact that he basically said, I can't use the word on your channel here, but we're going to try to win this game. I don't care what it takes. We're going to break that door down, and we're going to throw everything at Alabama. And he did. Now, it's easy to pick, but as dumb as some of the decisions were, had LSU converted one more third down,
yep.
and made that field goal, I think they would have won the game. So, in spite of everything, it wasn't that far fetched, and that's really with missing on 4 trick plays.
All right, so now A&M comes in, and I have to tell you, and we talked about this last year when the announcement came down that A&M and Missouri were going to join the SEC. I gave A&M no shot. I thought they'd be in the Ole Miss, Kentucky, vein there as far as standings were concerned. I didn't think their offense would work against the SEC teams, but so far, I guess I'm wrong. Other than the Florida LSU game, they've handled themselves quite well. What's been your impression of the way they've handled themselves in the first year in the SEC?
Well, I've loved it. It's been phenomenal. No one saw it coming, frankly. I just saw a tweet this morning that we dug up from Kirk Bowles in Austin saying that A&M in June that A&M will have their heads handed to them for a couple of years.
I said it too.
Yeah, I mean you couldn't help but say it, and Kevin Sumlin has just done a really nice job, and the schedule has been difficult, but I think playing Florida right out of the chute, dealing with LSU at home helped this team maybe gain a little confidence and when they hit the road, Auburn and Mississippi State, they played 2 teams expected to do well that really weren't as good, and I do think, not to get too far ahead, I do think it's going to come to an end Saturday in Tuscaloosa. I know a lot of folks are saying, well, Alabama's this and Alabama's that, but Alabama, even though they are banged up, A&M's coming. This is A&M's on its 3rd straight road game in the SEC too, and I think that's really the difference. I think if A&M had a little time to recover, they might be in good shape, but they have to be gassed.
What's your opinion of Johnny Manziel?
I love him. I mean, he's just one of the most exciting players I've ever seen, and I do have a Heisman vote, and I'm still catching some flack from Texas about RG3 last year, and I may have to make up for it this year.
He reminds me, and Paul, you can relate to this, but he reminds me a little bit of what Archie Manning did to the SEC back when he played in the late '60s, early '70s. Yeah,
I mean, I would like to act like I don't remember that time, but I was growing up in Memphis, 55 miles from Oxford, so I do remember it pretty well, and every kid my age wanted to be like Archie Manning.
Well, he was a terrific player. I'm interested to see, because we've seen in the Florida game and then the LSU game, he gets off to good starts, really creates some havoc, and then the defenses adjust and shut him down in the second half. Will he even have that much of an opportunity against Alabama?
I think it will. Listen, I think A&M, of course, their track record is right out of the chute, but that's also Alabama's track record. So I think they'll have some. I think he'll do some damage, but I just have a hard time believing it will go on very long. And Alabama's defense was mildly exposed, but I mean, we say that, and Mettenberger, of course, Pat Dye called him Mecklenburg last night, which I think is a county in North Carolina. He said he looked good, but they only scored 17 points. So what gets me, and I've seen A&M in spurts this year, obviously, but I can't get the Louisiana Tech game out of my mind, and that's where I think that will be the day of reckoning for them when Alabama's offense gets in gear, and they will.
Alabama going to win the national championship again?
I think that's pretty easy to predict. I mean, the presidential election has left pollsters scratching their heads for months now, but I think I'll go pretty strong on Bama to win, at least to get to the national championship game. I'd like to think about the Oregon matchup for a little while longer.
Boy, that would be a great game, though, wouldn't it?
I think it would. I mean, everyone my age wants to go for the Notre Dame old school, but I don't think Notre Dame would last a quarter against Alabama.
No, I don't either. I think Alabama would kill Notre Dame, and that would be okay too. I'd be fine with that.
Yeah, no, that would be fun. But I think we're potentially now. Listen, remember a year ago, everyone on this date had written Alabama off, and Oklahoma State was going to play for the national championship. And how did that work out?
Not too well. So when it's all said and done, how do you see this game coming out this weekend? Is it going to be a blowout? Is it going to be close?
I sense that it will be tight for a while, and I just see the dam breaking in the fourth quarter for Alabama. I tend to like them by a little bit more than the number, if anyone knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah, we understand. Hey, Paul, thanks very much for coming on with us. Great talking to you. It's great having you being able to kind of focus on some things Texas now, so we can kind of get a taste of the SEC from your perspective here. We really appreciate it.
Well, don't mess with Texas. Come on.
Absolutely. Hey, we'll send Rick Perry out to get you if you don't watch out.
He had the gun under the table at dinner, by the way.
It's probably tucked in his boot, wasn't it?
It was, as you know.
As long as he doesn't shoot his foot off, that's okay.
No, he hasn't done that. He did that during the presidential race, but not since.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, Paul, thanks again very much. We love talking to you,
Thanks,
and I hope you have a great week.
You got it.
All right, buddy. Paul Finebaum from Bryan Houston Sports Radio Live on 99.3 Talk FM. Paul, thank you.